Hey guys, welcome back to You Can't Sit With Us. I've really loved seeing the response to the first couple of episodes. I think a lot of us are carrying things we don't even realize have been taking up space in our lives. And after the last episode, I kept thinking I never really shared where this whole idea came from in the first place. Like why you can't sit with us. Because I know when people hear that phrase, it can sound sarcastic or exclusive or even kind of funny at first. But for me, the meaning behind it is actually really personal. A while back, I read a book called Don't Give the Enemy a Seat at Your Table by Louis Giglio. I highly recommend this. The book itself is based on Psalm 23. And by the end of the first chapter, the phrase, "You can't sit with us," rang loudly in my head. Not in a dramatic way, not in a everything changed overnight kind of way, but in a quiet, steady way that kept coming back into my mind during everyday life. Because the truth is, there were a lot of things sitting at my table that I'd started treating like permanent guests. Fear, stress, overthinking, trying to control outcomes, carrying emotional weight that wasn't even mine to carry. And I think for a long time, I just thought that was normal. Like being overwhelmed was just part of being responsible. Like constantly replaying situations in your head was just part of caring deeply. But that one specific line, Psalm 23:5, kept sticking with me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. And I started really thinking about what that means, spiritually, but practically. Because life doesn't suddenly become peaceful all the time. The chaos doesn't always disappear. The hard situations don't magically go away. But the picture in that verse is that even with all of that going on around you, God is still preparing a place of peace, steadiness, and provision for you. He's not preparing a table outside of it, over to the side, where you can look in and see all of the crazy of your life. He's preparing it right in the center with the fear and the chaos and the stress and the anxiety and whatever it is in your life all going on around you. And somewhere along the way, I realized I had been letting things sit at my table that were never meant to stay there. And honestly, some of them looked productive. Worry can disguise itself as responsibility. Control can disguise itself as caring. People-pleasing can disguise itself as kindness. But eventually you realize those things still drain you. And this became especially real for me navigating my family life, relationships, parenting dynamics, and all the emotional layers that come with loving people. Because when you care a lot, it's easy to start carrying everything. Everyone's emotions, everyone's expectations, everyone's reactions. And I don't think God ever intended for us to live emotionally exhausted all the time. And I'll say that one again. I don't think God ever intended for us to live emotionally exhausted all the time. That doesn't mean we stop caring. It just means we start discerning what actually belongs in our mental and emotional space. And that's really where You Can't Sit With Us was born for me. Not from arrogance, not from shutting people out, not from thinking I'm above the struggle or I'm superior. Actually, the opposite. It came from realizing I needed to protect what God was trying to build in me. And sometimes protecting peace means recognizing what no longer deserves unlimited access to your mind, your emotions, or your identity. And I think that's something a lot of us struggle with. We let fear narrate the whole dinner conversation. We let comparison pull up a chair every morning. We let guilt sit at the head of the table. We let resentment linger longer than it should. And after a while, those things start feeling familiar. But familiar doesn't always mean healthy. So this podcast is really about learning discernment in everyday life. Learning how to notice what brings peace, what steals peace, what aligns with who God is growing us into, and what needs to lose access. And I want to say this too because I think it matters. I'm not sharing any of this as someone who has mastered it. I am still learning, I'm still growing, still catching myself letting things sit down that shouldn't be there. But I think awareness changes things. And I think once you realize you don't have to entertain every fear, every thought, every pressure, every expectation, something starts shifting. You breathe differently. You respond differently. You protect your peace differently. So if you've been listening to these episodes wondering where this whole table idea came from, now you know. It started with a verse, a book that spoke to me at the right time, and a realization that not everything deserves a permanent seat in our lives. So maybe this week that's the question. What have you been allowing to sit at your table for too long? And does it actually belong there? Because around here, we're learning to make room for truth, growth, wisdom, grace, and peace. Everything else, you can't sit with us. I'll see you guys in the next episode.